Chapter 4. A Mysterious Figure. Athena tapped her foot impatiently. She'd been waiting by the marble staircase for nearly half-hour. Where in the world was Hercules? The hallway was empty. Her friends would be at the supernatural market by now. They were probably wondering where she was. If Hercules had changed his mind about coming, it would have been nice of him to let her know. Feeling irritated and let down, Athena pushed through the Academy's bronze doors and ran down the granite steps to the courtyard to start toward the market alone. She was halfway across the courtyard when she overheard loud voices and glimpsed two figures arguing at the edge of the olive grove that grew on the courtyard's far side. One of the voices sounded familiar. Was it Hercules? Shading her eyes against the sun, she squinted at the figures. They were both boys. She didn't recognize the one on the left, but the one on the right was wearing a lion pelt, definitely Hercules. Feeling confused, Athena tried to think about what to do. She felt certain Aphrodite would have advised her to ignore him and keep walking, to punish him for standing her up. But she wanted an explanation. Should she interrupt him and ask for one? As she stood there, undecided, Hercules broke away from the other figure, who melted into the grove. "Athena," he called out. Holding his club against his shoulder, he jogged over to where she stood. "Sorry I'm late," he said. "Are you mad?" "A little," she admitted. Then she grinned. "But I'll get over it. Do you still want to go?" "Yep." They started toward the sports fields at the edge of campus. Athena had to walk fast to keep up with Hercules' long strides. "Who was that boy you were talking to?" she asked after a minute. Hercules frowned. "My cousin. Yours, this." "Sounds like you weren't happy to see him," Athena said, huffing and puffing a little. "You got that right," Hercules muttered. Athena raised an eyebrow. "Something the matter?" Hercules shook his head. "It's nothing. Nothing I can't take care of, anyway." She promised not to tell Hercules that Zeus had asked her to help, but that didn't mean she couldn't offer. Still, boys could be so touchy about anyone thinking them weak in any way, especially one who seemed to rely so much on his brawny strength. So Athena said carefully, "If you ever find yourself in trouble here or need help, will you ask me?" He looked at her in surprise, then shrugged. "I guess so." Moments later, he pointed to a huge round building to the left of the grassy field they were crossing just then. "Is that the gymnasium?" "Uh-huh," said Athena. "Sometimes the school holds dances there, and Apollo's band plays. It's open to the sky in the center." "Wow," said Hercules. "My old school gymnasium wasn't even half as big. It sure was nice at Principal Zeus to invite me here." He hesitated. "Guess he's your dad, huh?" "Yes." The intercom announcement during lunch had certainly made that clear. Athena wondered if Hercules also knew that her mom was a fly. If so, at least he was tactful enough not to mention it. When they arrived at the doors to the market, Artemis's 3 hounds, who were allowed inside, barked joyfully and bounded up to them. their tails wagging. 𝓵𝓃, the beagle, wiggled all over as Athena reached down to pet him, while Nectar and Zeus growled, seeming wary of Hercules' lion-skin cape. He held out a hand for the dogs to sniff. Within moments, they were licking his fingers and yipping playfully, as if they'd always been friends. Athena gave 𝓵𝓃 one last pat on the head. "See you later, boys," she said, leaving them behind as she and Hercules entered the market. They walked past shelves of snacks and a rack filled with copies of the latest issue of 𝓛𝓲𝓯𝓮𝓼. Noticing that Orion was on the cover wearing a big, bright smile, Athena flipped the magazine around, hoping Artemis hadn't seen it on her way into the market. "It's a long story," she told Hercules when he looked at her curiously. Then they went on to a big, round table at the back of the store where Athena's friends sat drinking their shakes. Her roommate, Pandora, and Fame, the goddess girl of rumor, were there too. Aphrodite waved her over. "About time you got here." "Hercules," shouted Apollo, "what are you doing here?" "I was invited," Hercules replied with a grin. "And you?" Apollo laughed. "Touché." He motioned to an empty chair between him and Poseidon, and Hercules sat. At the far end of the table, Persephone pulled Hades up by the hand. "We'll go get more shakes." Artemis got up too. "I'll help." "Interesting," murmured Aphrodite as Athena took the chair between Fem and her. "Guess you managed to introduce yourself to Hercules after all." "Don't go getting any of your romantic ideas," Athena said, keeping her voice low so that Fame wouldn't hear. "I was just being friendly when I asked him here." Aphrodite smiled. "That's what they'll all say." Fame leaned toward them. Her eyes gleamed as she licked her orange gloss lips. "Did I miss something?" Her words puffed above her head in a little cloud letters that vanished soon after they were spoken. "Nothing important," Athena said quickly. "Oh." Scraping a spoon along the bottom of her empty shake glass, Fame sighed with disappointment. To cheer her up, and because it was true, Athena said, "That's a really cute chiton you're wearing." Dark green looked good on Fame, complementing her fair complexion and spiky orange hair, and Athena could see that the quality of the woven fabric was exceptionally good. Fame brightened at the compliment. "Thanks, I got it from 𝓵𝓃𝓕𝓮𝓿. 𝓵𝓃𝓕's sewing supplies?" asked Athena. "In the immortal marketplace? I thought they just sold yarns, thread, and fabrics." Fame shook her head. "I didn't buy this chiton at the mall. I bought it from the 𝓵𝓃𝓕 herself." "𝓵𝓃𝓕 is a real person?" said Athena. "I thought that was just the name of the shop." Fame stared at her, wide-eyed. "The shop is named in her honor." "Seriously, though, you've never heard of her?" "Isn't she that mortal girl who's supposed to be such a terrific weaver?" asked Aphrodite. "I hear she's quite famous down on Earth. I forget where she's from, though." "Hypatia," said Fame. "It's the tiny little town at the foot of Mount Athos." Athena felt embarrassed that she hadn't known about the girl. After all, Athena had invented weaving. I wonder why I've never heard of her, she said aloud. Aphrodite laughed. Maybe because you spend too much time with your nose stuck in your text scrolls. You should pay more attention to what's going on around you, said 𝓕𝓮. You'd be surprised how many interesting things you can learn. Athena smiled. It was just the kind of advice you'd expect from the goddess girl of rumor. 𝓕𝓮 had a point, though. Athena should pay a little more attention to things going on down on Earth. And she couldn't help feeling flattered that mortar girls were taking an interest in weaving, a craft she had invented. Perhaps she should champion their successes. She made a mental note to visit this 𝓕𝓮𝓶𝓲𝓷𝓮 sometime soon. Persephone, Hades, and Artemis were back with another half-dozen of ambrosia shakes. Thanks, said Athena as Persephone handed her one. She also gave one to Hercules. He said a few moments later. He glanced at the shakes that Hades and Artemis still held. You can just leave all of those with me. Everyone laughed. Is that lion skin for real? Pandora asked, staring at Hercules from across the table. Sure, said Hercules. Is your blue hair for real? Pandora blushed, reaching up to pat her hair, which was streaked with blue and gold. It's the school colors, didn't you know? Athena hid a smile. For as long as she'd known, Pandora's hair had looked like that. As a sign of curiosity, her bangs were plastered against her forehead in the shape of a question mark. But sometimes Pandora's curiosity bordered on rudeness. Hercules had just given her a taste of her own medicine. Now Apollo nudged Hercules with his elbow. Tell the girls that story you told us at lunch. Yeah, the one about how you got your lion cape, promoted Poseidon. Hercules shrugged. They don't want to hear about that. I do, said Artemis, as long as you stick to the facts. Orion, her disastrous crush, had often exaggerated his abilities in the stories he told. Hercules glanced around the table at the other goddess girls. They nodded. Go on, tell us, said Athena. It was a story she really wanted to hear. Okay, but I hope you aren't squeamish, said Hercules, looking a little worried. Truth is that I had to kill this lion because it was a big problem for the people of Nemea. Afterward, I skinned it and now I wear it as a pelt. He smiled at Artemis, and those are the facts. Poseidon thumped his trident on the floor. You left out all the good stuff. Tell them about the lion's its impenetrable skin. What? Asked Persephone. Hercules' arrows weren't any good against the lion, Hades explained. Its skin was so thick and tough, the arrows just bounced off. Picking up the story, Apollo began actions as he described them. So he chased the lion into a lair, wrestled it into the ground, and snapped its neck with his bare hands. Goodness, Aphrodite exclaimed, how gruesome! I can't help feeling sorry for the lion. Don't, said Poseidon, shaking his head. That lion was a menace. It got its kicks out of terrorizing the Nemean people, killing the farm animals, and, he paused as if unsure whether to go on, and worse, Hercules finished. Athena wasn't sure what was worse meant, but she thought it was nice of Hercules to want to spare them the grisly details. Still, there was one thing that mystified her. If the lion's hide was impenetrable, how did you manage to skin it? Hercules ran his hands down the side of his pelt. I puzzled over that for the longest time, he admitted. It could have come back to life if I hadn't, so I had to find a way. Can you guess? Athena thought for a moment. Then, in a flash, the answer came to her. She snapped her fingers. "The claws!" she exclaimed. "You cut the pelt with the lion's own claws." "Wow," said Hercules. "You sure figured that out fast. It would have saved me some time if you've been with me." The other god boys laughed, but Athena felt sure Hercules had meant his comment to be serious, not funny. "Why couldn't the Nemeans kill the lion themselves?" asked Pandora. "Why did you have to kill it for them?" Well," said Hercules, looking a little secretive, "I just did." Then he abruptly changed the subject, asking Apollo and Artemis about a new archery competition they were practicing for. Was Hercules hiding something? Athena wondered. His answer to Pandora's question had been pretty vague. And then there was his cousin turning up so unexpectedly. Hercules hadn't seemed to want to talk about that either. Maybe, just maybe, Zeus was right to be concerned about him. When it was almost time for dinner, everyone started back to the academy. The god boys clowned around, mimicking some of their teachers and throwing fake punches as they walked ahead of the goddess girls. Athena kept an eye on Hercules as the girls chatted among themselves. As they crossed the courtyard, he broke away from the other boys. Athena watched him head for the trail that led down to earth. She followed her friends into MOA's main hall, but when they began to climb the stairs to the dorms, she called out, "I'll catch you later, okay?" Artemis, Aphrodite, and Persephone paused a few steps above her. "Please don't tell us you're going to go study at the library again," said Artemis. "It's Friday night, for goodness sake." Athena laughed. "Okay, I won't tell you that. And anyway, that's not it. There's just something I need to do." Dashing outside before they could question her, she headed for the trail Hercules had taken. Once she reached it, ash, olive, and date palm trees, as well as clusters of grapevines, ivy, and shielded her from the view. Quickly, she concentrated on bringing into her mind an image of her favorite bird. As she held onto the image, her body became smaller and lighter as she began to sprout feathers. Her arms became wings, and her eyes grew rounder and wider until she had shifted into a big brown owl. With a carefree hoot, she flapped her wings and rose into the air. And that concludes chapter 4 of Goddess Girls, a Mysterious Figure. Thank you so much for watching this Goddess Girls, Athena the Wise, read with me. I appreciate you ladies being here and this voiceover. I will be continuing to upload weekly videos, so make sure to click the notification bell so you ladies will be notified with new updates. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye.